Lesson 14. Fairy Tales and Legends.
Hello. Today we're going to review adverbs and then we're going to study adverb clauses. First, let's look at some new vocabulary. A legend. A legend. Well, a legend is an old, well-known story about brave people, adventures, or magical events. For example, Robin Hood, Aladdin, or Merlin the Magician are examples of legends. A fairy tale. A fairy tale. Well, a fairy tale is a children's story in which magical things happen. Hansel and Gretel and Cinderella are examples of fairy tales. A palace. A palace. A palace is a large, grand house where a king or a queen or a king and a queen live. It's similar to a castle. A moat. A moat. A moat is a deep, wide hole filled with water. It's used for defense. A drawbridge. A drawbridge. Well, a drawbridge is a bridge that can be pulled up to stop people from entering a castle. A crossbow. A crossbow. A crossbow is a kind of weapon like a small bow, and it's used for firing small arrows. A fairy. A fairy. A fairy is a small imaginary creature with magical powers, and it usually looks like a small person. And a fairy godmother. A fairy godmother. Fairy godmother is a woman who saves people from trouble. She's a magical creature. A dwarf. A dwarf. A dwarf is an imaginary creature that looks like a small man. An elf. An elf. An elf is an imaginary creature that looks like a small man with pointed ears. And a giant. A giant. A giant is a big, tall man, and he is often bad or cruel. A witch. A witch. A witch is an old woman who is supposed to have magical powers, especially to do bad things. And a witch rides around on a broom. A wizard. A wizard. A wizard is an old man with magical powers, and a wizard is similar to a magician. A genie. A genie is a magical spirit that lives in a lamp. And finally, a potion. A potion. A potion is a drink that has a magical or special effect on the person who drinks it. Witches often make potions. Okay, let's go over these words now. A legend. A fairy tale. A palace. A moat. A drawbridge. A crossbow. A fairy. And a fairy godmother. A dwarf. An elf. A giant. A witch, a wizard, a genie, and finally, a potion.
Adverbs.
Well, it's time to review adverbs. First, what is an adverb? An adverb is a word that describes or modifies a verb, an adjective, or another adverb. Adverbs usually end in the letters ly, and they usually answer the question how. So have a look at these examples. The witch stirred the potion slowly. The dwarves walked over the drawbridge carefully. In the first sentence, slowly is an adverb. It describes the word to stir. How did the witch stir the potion? She stirred the potion slowly. Now, in the second sentence, carefully is an adverb, and it describes the verb to walk. How did the dwarves walk? They walked carefully. Now, many adverbs end in ly. Some examples are cautiously and slowly and quietly. Ly, ly, ly. These adverbs usually come at the end of a sentence. Now, some words can be both adverbs and adjectives, as in these examples. Dwarves work hard. Dwarves are hard workers. In the first sentence, hard is an adverb, and it describes the word to work. Now, in the second sentence, hard is an adjective, and it describes the noun workers. Another example of this word is fast. Have a look at these examples. Fairies can fly fast. Fairies are fast flyers. Now, fast is an adverb in the first sentence. It's modifying the verb to fly. And in the second sentence, fast is an adjective. It describes the noun flyers. Well, let's practice. Let's use some adverbs in your answers. Monica, what does a wizard do?
A wizard can make a person disappear quickly.
Very good. And Rosa, where can you find a moat?
You can find a moat at a castle or palace. People walk over them carefully.
Good. And Lewis, what does a witch do?
A witch works hard to do bad things to people.
Okay, thank you everyone. And now it's time for you to look and listen carefully.
Look and listen.
The fairy godmother helped the boy who was sleeping soundly. The giant stomped hard on the ground. Paul Bunyan chopped down the trees quickly with his axe. The witch flew fast through the night.
Read and repeat.
Adverbs are often used to express time. Have a look at these sentences. The genie will grant Larry's wish tomorrow. Yesterday, the witch found her old broom. Well, tomorrow and yesterday are adverbs, and they are used at the beginning or at the end of a sentence. Adverbs are also used to express frequency, and you've seen these before. For example, a giant usually hides in a cave. A wizard always uses a staff. Well, let's practice. Let's use adverbs of frequency or of time in your answers. Lewis, how often do you read fairy tales?
I rarely read fairy tales. They are for children.
Well, not always, Lewis. Rosa, have you ever read a fairy tale?
Of course, I started one yesterday. It is called Rumpelstiltskin.
I've read that one. And Monica, what are fairies frightened of?
That's a difficult question. I think they're frightened of giants. They never go near them.
Good. Thank you very much, everyone. And now, as always, you're going to look